Hey, greetings. And this is Body-Culinary. And so I'm welcoming you into my food prep area, into my live foods kitchen, into my kitchen, just to share with you some time this early Sunday. And today we just want to touch on is why you should put yourself first. Numero uno. This is not new information. It's not the first time we're hearing it. We hear this often. I mean, how often do we say all different types of sayings? But quite often, you let me know what you think in the comments. There's a disconnect, a cognitive dissonance, a disassociation from what we're saying out of our mouths and it translating actually into action. So most of us, especially women, we don't put ourselves first. We don't put ourselves first, and it shows up. It shows up, and I can tell you that right now I have a lot of compassion. I'm watching folks in my family suffer, and throughout the years, I've watched many women suffer in their older age, and I can think of numerous women that really, put their all into children. They put their all, and without great regrets, I love children. They put their all into family members. They put their all into the community. They put their all into their church and their houses of worship. And in the end, many of them couldn't get somebody to bring them a fresh juice in the hospital. They weren't really cared for. They were sort of thought of as an afterthought in a nursing home. Some folks have better access to certain kinds of facilities, but there are many families that don't necessarily have the resources or the money to care for their elders the way they would like to be cared for. And I can think of numerous women that have really extended themselves and put so much time, effort into care, and not only into caring for their own children, but caring for children that did not come out of their womb. Babies, adult children, just intervening when it came to resources, giving their last, giving their time and their energy, almost sometimes to the point of breastfeeding, children and grown adults. And at the end, which I can say is sometimes kind of horrifying, kind of literally horrifying to see as someone as a woman that takes great pride in making sure, the children around me are oiled up and nourished and fed properly. The idea of not being cared for in your old age, maybe it's something we don't think that we'll ever approach another phase of life. Or women that have put a lot into their relationships and their husbands. And then, we see in society, in popular society, many women are made to feel invisible after a certain age. Also, it's no secret if we look at things that are trending in social media to see women that are some of the most beautiful women in the world that were quickly ostracized and tossed to the curb when they gained some weight. Many of them, they traded off their careers for the role of motherhood, which I love being a mother. But there's really something for us to take a look at and to balance, especially based on results. Whereas, we take great pride in taking care of everyone, and then we're kind of in shock and sometimes heartbroken when we see folks may choose other partners that do take care of themselves physically, even though people may think that it doesn't sound too nice or harsh. But then when we let ourselves go, we're definitely not in a time where it's trending for people to stick by your side when you don't take care of yourself. And not just in terms of romantic relationships. Physically, I know my mom, she worked with elderly for many years, and some people that were disabled, but mostly elderly. And she would tell me sometimes how she saw elders were treated, particularly when they didn't have anybody to come and to look after them. Maybe if their children had moved away, or maybe if they didn't have a good relationship. And sometimes these elders were at the beck and call of somebody, an attendant, or somebody that may not be in the best mood, or a lot of times they were alone, or if they're going for surgery, they didn't have anyone to fend for themselves. So over the years, I would constantly say to my mom, please take good care of your health. You told me how these elders are treated. You want to, at least for whatever's in your control, you want to be able to be mobile, as long as possible. You want to hold on to your original body parts as long as possible. Some of us may never consider dementia or Alzheimer's. I mean, if we look at B. Smith, right, and she had lots of money and resources, we may not connect the chemicals that we're eating and the clogging foods without putting any labels on it. The clogging foods that we're eating, we think so much of the face and the muscles that we're not considering our brain, which is the control center. And we don't think of all these powerful chemicals that we're eating affecting our brain. So it is so important to prioritize yourself first, because we'll go through, all of us, even if you preserve yourself really well, we're going to go through different phases of life. And you want to be able to enter them gracefully, as pain-free as possible. When you don't have full movement and mobility of your limbs, we take it for granted. When you're in pain in your lower back, when you're in pain in your joints, quite often it's challenging to have a good, pleasant mood when you're in a lot of pain. And there are many, there's some things that are out of our control, granted, but there are many things that I can definitely tell you, somebody that worked in the fitness industry for many years, that we may not notice that's leaving. For example, we may not notice that our strength is leaving imperceptibly. We may not notice that there's certain things that become more challenging for us to do, to lift, to sit, to bend over and pick something up, to be able to ride the bicycle. I know when I'm riding the bicycle this week with loads of watermelon and coconuts, maybe about 2 watermelons and like 11 coconuts plus other things on my bicycle. And it's challenging. I can notice if I take longer breaks, or if I'm not exercising as intensely, I can see more quickly now. I can see fluctuations in my level of fitness. And when I say fitness, for me, that's my body's capacity to perform. So many people say, why are you riding the bicycle? You don't have to ride the bicycle. You can take the train or whatever. But it's a good litmus test for me being able to move. So I prioritize that bicycle. And if we get kind of lax and lazy, you may not notice or lose like, wow, it's harder for me to get on that bicycle. I've lived in walk-up houses that had many stairs for numerous years. And when people would come to visit me, they would say, oh my gosh, you walk up these stairs, all the time. And I would think like, wow, I was so used to carrying a quite heavy bicycle, sometimes with 3 bags of produce and food and things on 3 bags on each side of the bicycle. And I would just throw it over my shoulder, maybe put a little piece of African print right here and throw it over my shoulder. And I would get it up those stairs. I had just gotten so used to it. So it's a litmus test. It's a shock to me if I'm not able to do something. Also, over the years, for many years, I used to dust my son in the park in terms of squats and push-ups. Now, I'm sure there are many ways he can take me, but I like being able to be confident in my body. If I need to be able to defend myself, right? These are the times that we're living. You want to be able to physically fend for yourself. So if something happens, or if you need to pull somebody out in an emergency, think of in 9/11, some people couldn't get down the stairs. Can you believe it? If you can, going up the stairs is one thing, but some people couldn't get down the stairs. So when I used to work in the airline industry, if any of you have ever paid attention to the demo that they do for exiting the aircraft in the event of an emergency, they would tell you to do what first with the oxygen, right? To put it on your own face first. So I know in different drills and things we would do, we witnessed the captains and staff that work on the aircraft, that should there be, a leakage of oxygen, hypoxia would set in a matter, like can set in seconds when your brain is deprived of oxygen. So if you're in a big aircraft like a 747, you're all the way in the front in business class, you wouldn't even be able to make it down to the end zone to get your children to help them in the event of an emergency. Can you get your body to perform? Can you get your body to move when you need it to? Right? Can your body perform on demand? If you need to pull somebody out of the way, if you need to run out of harm's way or danger, do you have to sit on the sidelines when your friends, if they're active adults, or your children or your grandchildren, if they're running and playing, are you out of breath or winded and like breaking beads of sweat? It is so important to put yourself first, because you lose your health, your mobility, the functioning of the organs, a lot of times is imperceptible. And I've noticed over the years, not that it makes you better. When you have a certain set of morals or standards, they're primarily for you. If you improve and upgrade your eating, it's not really for me. It's for your benefit. And I notice culturally, I'm sure we're not the only ones, but culturally, we have a tendency to make it a joke. Like, I'm gonna eat my cookies and stuff till I'm old and whatever. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have pleasure out of your food, but to really be not take seriously that health, just like muscle, takes time to cultivate, right? Just like it takes a while to grow muscle, right? And to develop a lean toned body. It takes time to learn new skills and to learn to perform exercises. Well, it takes time to gain health, but you're losing it all the time if you're not putting anything into that bank account. So it's so important to retrain yourself. And for women, I find it can be much more challenging, as well as just anybody, male or female, that has a busy lifestyle. I did notice that a lot of the CEOs, when I would do different health and fitness seminars at corporations, that I noticed the big executives somehow found the time to work in the early wee hours, but quite often the next influx of people that will come in, like the assistants and executive assistants, they would say that they didn't have time, which I thought was interesting. So if you take a look at some of the most successful celebrities and actors and corporate folks in the world, you'll notice that if you were to look at their schedule, they find the time to train and they invest in themselves, right? They invest in themselves first. It's part of the package, is part of the standard that's expected of them. High performing people get the value of investing in themselves, right? Investing in their education. They spend money for all different kinds of coaches that are lawyers, business coaches, speaking coaches, people that help them in their craft, Olympians or professional sports teams. These athletes, they're really, really good, but they get more and more coaches. They take and replay back their games over and over to see where the holes are so they can have continuous development. So even if they're operating at 98%, they want to get to 100%. And then they have to be able to replicate that over and over. It requires an investment of time. It requires being uncomfortable. It requires, for example, when I'm riding a bicycle, with up and down these hills with these watermelons, these coconuts, it's extremely uncomfortable. It's a whole nother kind of burn that I'm feeling on that bicycle. But it's a wonderful litmus test. And it's also a mental litmus test to see if I have the focus and the will and the fortitude to do something. It's one thing to do it in a treadmill periodically, just around New Year's. But it's another thing, can you perform if you need to? And can you cultivate that so you can get to a point where you can feel really, really, really good about the investment you put in yourself, that you build a type of you build an integrity with yourself, where you keep your promises to yourself. And then when you can really see the improvements, I love to use little markers, sometimes a heart rate monitor or different things that can reflect back to me progress, because there's nothing motivating like progress. Not only seeing yourself fit into clothes, but can you do something that you were not able to do before? That is so tremendous. My godfather used to tell me, he'd say, it's nothing like being able to do whatever you want to with your human body. So it's so important that you cultivate and retrain your body, even though the temptation is there to put everybody else first, to get up early if you need to sacrifice a bit of sleep, to put your exercise and your fitness and your personal, creating your personal movement practice, numero uno, to put the time that it takes to prepare beautiful food for yourself, to make it a priority. So by the time it comes around during your schedule to sit down and enjoy some food, or if you're eating in transit, you have food that's prepared beautifully, that's not spilling all over in your bag, and you can enjoy it just as much as people that are whipping out their burgers and their fries, and you know exactly what's in the food. So I invite you, I implore you to put yourself first. And I'm just really big on stressing this Thanksgiving holiday, giving thanks to the Body Temple. By the way, do check out the Thanksgiving Treat Yourself Royal Challenge. How much fresh, whole living, unprocessed foods can you get for $25? And it should be foods that you enjoy, right? So you can see what I got for $25. The video is already uploaded here on the channel. So take advantage of that and follow Body-Culinary if you want to see what I'm doing in the garden, and otherwise on Instagram as well as Facebook. Put yourself first, right? You know, sometimes if something was to happen to you, sometimes the spouse can get another you. People will remarry. The company will replace you no matter how good you are. People forget about you and say, who was that person? You can be replaced by your coworker, the company, other people, but you can't get another you. You know, and interestingly enough, as somebody that grew up, my family was in the church, I used to think it was so interesting. There was so many consecration fasts going on, and I would watch the more and more people fast. It seemed the bigger and bigger that they got. FYI, we did make the webinar dedicated to the folks that are over at the Vegan Food and Fitness channel. We made available to folks so folks can share it for the Thanksgiving challenge. We made it available for $5. So that's a gift of community service from Delilah Fitness and also Body-Culinary. So we really want to help you dissolve your excuses and your blockages from taking care of yourself first. If you have nothing to give, you know, and you're depleted, you won't really be able to help others. And sometimes you may end up bitter, angry, and resentful because you gave your all. And now there's no literal life energy left for yourself. You don't have energy or the motivation to go and exercise and walk. And then nobody's really there to do it with you. So I think many more people would be active and prepare beautiful food for themselves if they had some support. So that's one of the reasons that I have put this channel here to really motivate folks. And I'm open to having that dialogue. I don't care, you know, who you are. If you're positive and you're proactive, it's really for us to create a circle of influence. The people around you that are very proactive when it comes to health, a dedication to personal movement practice, and positive alcohol, drug-free play, that are dedicated to some kind of a personal development and really honing and cultivating communication skills. So when it comes to your health, your economics, your communication skills, take a look at the 5 people around you the most and what are they doing, the conversations you're having. If no new information is coming in, then how are you growing? If you're not being challenged, if you are the fittest person in the room, you know, then how are you going to grow if you're never safely but challenged to come outside of your comfort zone? So I encourage you to share this video with someone who you know could benefit from some motivation. Create your own little community and watch for who do you want to have in your circle of influence, who motivates you. Maybe you're stronger in some areas that they may not be as strong as, and you have a good synergy, like you have reciprocal relationships where you're putting something out and you're getting something back. You're motivated. Every time you leave that interaction, you feel inspired to actually do something that is tangible. So I want to encourage you, put yourself first, non-negotiable. You will get used to it. It may seem challenging and you may feel like, oh, it doesn't feel right, or I can't put myself before my children or my husband. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it and you'll be more respected and you can get more results. You'll respect yourself and other people will respect you and treat you better. We're training people all the time how to treat us. And we can be upset and angry, but we didn't put ourselves first and we didn't take care of ourselves. Whether we realize or not, we are indirectly telling people how to treat us because we're not putting ourselves first. So should we really be shocked when other folks don't put us first? So share the video with someone you know who could use some motivation. Put yourself first. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd like to know, have you put yourself first? Are you putting yourself first? Did you used to put yourself first and you stopped? And is it an entirely new concept to you? You know, what kinds of thoughts, emotions come up for you when you think of putting yourself first? Do you listen? Are you able to listen to the dialogue that's going on in your head and all the valid excuses for not putting tangible time aside to work out for you first, making sure your healthy food is prepared for the day first, right? Hit the notification bell so you can be notified of whenever I upload a new video, because we'll have lots more great content coming up. Share the video and create a great day on purpose. And I'll see you soon in the next video.